Are arts a special case when it comes to evidence?
Personally, I don't think so. I think there's been lots of fields of human endeavour, criminal justice, education, psychiatry, where people say it's all right to do robust trials on drugs and surgical procedures, but we're different. So there's a sort of exceptionalism that says we're different. I don't think arts is a special case because you can do harm by introducing interventions which are dangerous or ineffective. You can waste public money by doing interventions which are ineffective. And a lot of false analogies or false comparisons are made. People say interventions in medicine are simple and standard and applied to simple people. And I think individuals are complicated. Their response to interventions are varied and different. And I think the same is in arts interventions. You introduce something in a social context, it involves human behaviour, it involves interactions between communities and individuals. So no, I don't think arts is different.
Now, you wrote the complex guidance interventions for the MRC. What would you advise people to start doing when they're thinking about a possible intervention? Where should they begin?
I think they need to begin with thinking about the feasibility and sense of an intervention. So why is this likely to work? What's the theory of change behind it? What would I have to do to introduce it? Is anybody likely to fund it, even if it's shown to be successful? Or is it so big and expensive nobody's likely to fund it? So I think people need to start quite small. They need to start looking at what's already been published or written on that particular topic to synthesise the evidence from there. So to start by developing an idea about what it is the intervention is and how it could be rolled out.
And should they work on their own, or are there other people that they should discuss this with at the time?
All the evidence is it's absolutely crucial with any intervention for the researchers to work with the stakeholders, which is a trendy term, but the stakeholders can mean the sort of people who are going to pay for it, the sort of people who are going to deliver it, or the sort of people who are going to receive it. There's absolutely no point developing an intervention that nobody is going to deliver or that nobody wants to receive. So you have to talk to all these people right from the beginning in order to say, is this likely to be feasible? Is it likely to be acceptable? Is it likely to be affordable?
What's the next step after that?
Well, the next step is testing two things: feasibility of the intervention itself. Can you do it? Can you work? Let's try it out. Does it all fall in a heap when you try it? And the other thing is the feasibility of the study design. Can you get people to... So there's two things. Can you get people to agree to take up the intervention? And can you take people to agree to be part of the study? And agreeing to be part of the study may involve the deliverers and the recipients as well. So I think you've got to think about the feasibility of the study to then try it out in various settings, see how long it takes, see how much you can control who gets it, see what the response rate is to the uptake of the intervention or indeed the uptake of the study.
So you've done your feasibility studies. What next? Is it the randomised control trial?
Wherever possible, randomised control is the best design. And what you need to do is go to a funder and get the finances to do the trial. And in order to do that, you need to demonstrate that you've done a systematic review and looked at all the previous evidence, that you've done good pilot and feasibility work, you've determined the appropriate sample size to answer the question, that the study is doable in that it's acceptable to the deliverers and to the recipients. They will probably want to know whether you've got an economic evaluation as part of it to look at the costs and benefits of the study.
What about funders wanting a kind of biologically plausible mechanism? Because we've often heard that.
I think you need to have a theory of change, why things are likely to, if you introduce X, Y is likely to change. And that can be from previous observation, when you change X, Y tends to change. Or it can be based on biological modelling, or it can be based on social modelling or social psychological modelling. If you're concerned about improving health and well-being, you don't always have to have a plausible biological mechanism. What you have to have is a sensible theory of change that says this is likely to change in a beneficial direction.
You spoke today about good intentions. What's the problem with good intentions?
Well, the problem with good intentions and received wisdom is that interventions or policies or practices can actually do harm as well as good. And unless you do reasonably robust trials or some sort of studies, you don't know whether they do more harm than good. There's lots of examples from a number of fields, criminal justice, health, of very plausible interventions where anybody can say it's obvious that this would do good, where a proper robust study has shown that it might do harm. For example, toughened beer glasses in pubs, psychoeducation for children, taking delinquents into prisons to meet lifers. All these were shown not to have the effects that were desired and in fact to have damaging effects.